Welcome, everybody, to the latest live edition of the Ultimate Cleveland Guardian Show. I'm Adam the Bull. I'll be joined shortly by Zach Meisel. Zach is at Progressive Field, just putting things to bed on the real part of his job, the athletic, and he's been in the locker room. And, obviously he was there for the atmosphere of the game. And so we'll get going here, and Zach should be in the next couple of minutes. This is the Ultimate Cleveland Guardian Show. And, if you joined me for my immediate post-game, 3 hours or so ago, I'm sure you already know, if you're watching this show, you know what happened, unfortunately. The Guardians lose 6-3 to the Detroit Tigers, and the season is over. What was a miserable season for most of 5 months. The Guardians stunk in April and May, for the most part. I shouldn't say stunk. They were mediocre for April and May and early June. Then they were pretty terrible for late June and early July. Then right before the All-Star break, they got hot, won 6 in a row, stayed hot for another couple of weeks after the All-Star break. Then from early August to early September, they were hideous. And for the most part, it was a terrible season from the beginning till about September 3rd. At that point, the Guardians were 11 games out. Of course, in July, they were 15 out. They were sellers at the trade deadline. The season seemed completely hopeless. On September 3rd, they were still 11 games out. They were a game under 500. The thought of them going to the playoffs in the first week of September seemed like an absolute joke. There was no way that the Cleveland Guardians were going to make the playoffs. And then they won 17 of their next 19 games, lost a couple, won a couple, 19 of 23, which punched their ticket not only to the postseason, but to a division title, an unexpected division title. They're second in as many years. And who do they get to play in the first round? Well, the team that was part of the greatest collapse in history, the Detroit Tigers. The Guardians took 5 of 6 from the Tigers in the final 2 weeks of the season to help punch their ticket to the division title. There were some people that thought, well, maybe you don't want to play the Tigers again. Maybe you're better off playing Boston because you've beaten up the Tigers too much. They're due to turn it around. I was not one of those people. I felt very confident that the Guardians would win this series. Even after they lost a game one where they played sloppy defense and couldn't hit the Tarek Skubal in game one, I was very confident that the Guardians were going to win game 2 and game 3. And they took care of business in game 2. And coming into today's action, I was extremely confident that the Guardians would win. Unfortunately, it did not happen. This is the Ultimate Cleveland Guardian Show. All right, welcome back to the Ultimate Cleveland Guardian Show. I thought we had Zach Meisel. It was perfect timing to hit the open. And Zach had popped in, but he popped back out. I'm sure he'll be back with us in just a second. And we'll get Zach's take on what happened today. If you missed my podcast earlier in the day, check it out. We'll talk about some of the same things. And I had said we'll wait till next week, really, to talk about the offseason stuff. And then I proceeded to talk about the offseason. The Guardians payroll, which was around $100 million this year, is based on who's not going to be here next year. You're talking about it being cut in half. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done. There's a lot of money that should be spent. I got my one highlight free agent. Last year, I was harping on Gleyber Torres. Was a free agent again this year. This year, I've got bigger fish to fry in that vein. Let's talk to Zach Meisel, who joins us now. Zach, how are you?
What's up, Paul?
How you doing, man? All right, we got the Yankees and Red Sox. Go ahead.
Yeah. What are your big fish to fry?
Well, the Yankees are winning. So last year, I was talking about with free agency, and last year, Gleyber Torres was the guy I was saying all offseason I wanted the Guardians to sign, and they didn't. Now, I know this offseason is going to be weird. We don't know when Dolan's selling the team. There's a lockout or strike pending in a year, so who knows who's going to be willing to spend, especially the Guardians. But, and I said we'd wait till next week on this, but while we're here, so the Guardians' payroll was roughly $100 million this year. And it's going to be roughly 50 million next year as of now, right? Because I was looking at it earlier. The only player that's making more than like $4.5 million, you got Jose's making whatever he's making. I can't remember, 20 something million. And then Kwan's arbitration eligible. He'll make what, 7 million next year, something like that, 7.5, 8, whatever. And then this is a big if Clase is back, we don't know, he's owed 6 something next year. The next highest paid guy is Tanner Bybee at like 4 something million. Pretty much everybody else is like 2 million or less. So Santana's off the books, Bieber's off the books, Hedges off the books.
So one more guy.
I said Santana.
Trevor Stephan.
Yeah, he's getting paid like 3 million. That's a tall.
Like 3.5 mil, yeah.
So you got who else is coming off the books? Jacob Junis, although he pitched nicely for them, is off the books. Paul Sewald is off the books.
Bull. This is the season ended like 2 hours ago. This is where we're starting.
Well, I wasn't planning on it, but you were asking me about the fish to fry. So I said, we'll get back to it. But my free agent target this year, and you have to pay him a lot of money per year.
We're already
Pete Alonso. I want Pete Alonso.
October 2nd, 9:27 p.m. And I already have to try to tell you that, don't get your hopes up with off-season spending.
Of course, I have no hopes for it, but there's no reason they couldn't sign him to a 3-year, $120 million contract. No
Sure.
reason.
Yeah.
All right. We'll move on from that and get to the game. Obviously, major disappointment. Close game early. And then, Dingler was a big factor. The Northeast Ohio kid, the big caught stealing of Jose. I mean, a perfect throw there when the Guardians had just taken the lead or tied the game. And then he comes up and hits the solo homer that gives them the 2-1 lead. They pile on 4 more the following inning, taking advantage of an overworked bullpen there. And that was that. Obviously, they had the one rally late. Was there anything that had you scratching your head with the Guardians in terms of decisions, in terms of Ciccone when they brought him out? I thought he took out Joey Cantillo too early. What did you think? What do you make?
That's the one to me.
Yeah.
When he pulled Cantillo, I understand he gave up the home run. He just left a changeup up, and Dingler crushed it.
Yeah.
But I was wondering how they were going to get through 9 innings.
Yeah.
And then Cade Smith comes in the 9th, and, they had scored the 2 runs in the bottom of the 8th. And I'm thinking, okay, well, Vogt literally said before the game, he said, all the relievers came by, stopped by his office and said, I'm ready to go. And I asked him, I said, any of them lying, you think? How does Cade Smith feel? And he said like they weren't going to pitch Cade Smith 2 innings. Now, it didn't take him very many to get through the 9th, so who knows? Right. But if you went extra innings, the only guy you had left was Colby Allard.
That's it.
So it didn't have to be like that. Cantillo, I thought he was a little shaky with the command in his first inning, and then he looked really good after that. Yeah. I would have left him in, especially since he brought in another lefty to replace him.
It made no sense to me.
Again, Sobrowski and Gaddis were going to come in at some point anyway, so would it have made a difference? No. The bottom line is they didn't hit enough. Like it's the stuff that we yelled about all year. It holds true here. Like that was the downfall. The one reason why I think maybe it is valid to talk about Gleyber Torres or Pete Alonso or whoever is they need proven hitters. They need more guys who you can just plug in the lineup, and it doesn't matter if there's a lefty or a righty on the mound for the other team. That this dude can be trusted to play every day. Like they need more of that. And maybe Chase DeLauter is that. Maybe Travis Pizzana is that. But I don't want to hope. There's too much hoping and praying and wishing, and you laid out the payroll. There's no excuse to go into another season, hoping and wishing and praying as much as they hope and wish and pray. And look, it's a complicated year to dissect. I just filed a story, and it's hard. You can't if you ask the question, I'm sure Sports Talk Radio will just say, was this season a success? And they'll answer yes or no. And, maybe you guys will play No Fence Riders tomorrow. But it's nuanced, right? Like I commend them for the way that they didn't just roll over and die when the gambling stuff hit in the middle of what was already a tornado.
Yeah.
And then,
oh, Zach froze up there for a second.
we're strongly
Zach, you're freezing up. If you can hear me, you're freezing up. Last thing we heard you say was tornado. Maybe we'll bump you out, and we'll see if we can get you back in. Listen, these things happen when you're at the stadium. Sometimes you have technical difficulties. In the meantime, let's get some chat messages here. Paramjot said, proud of the team and the effort that put out at the end of the season. But with that being said, the ownership and front office should be ashamed of what they put out this year on offense. Zach said, Bull, did you hear your buddy Nick Wilson today after the Guards lost? He was very upset that fans are criticizing the Dolans. He basically said today is not the day to get on ownership. We got Zach back. Nick Wilson's angry that the fans are criticizing Dolan. Today's not the day. I get it, but what do you mean it's not the day? No, he didn't die. I mean, you know.
The problem is this is the only day to talk Guardians because it's going to be all right. Starting tomorrow. So
right, exactly. So Nick's entitled to his opinion. I disagree. Zach said, I'm sorry. This team scored 9 runs in 3 games. I can't be mad at fans who call out ownership for not paying for bats. Go get Pete Alonso. Zach's my guy. He wants Pete Alonso. There you go. Here we go. Pete Alonso, Sean Murphy, Emilio Pagan. Let's go. You don't have to, give me a weird look for Sean Murphy. I could platoon Sean Murphy.
No, I like Sean Murphy.
Okay.
What's that trade look like?
No, he's a free agent.
Sean Murphy? No, he's had an extension.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
I could have sworn I saw. Or am I? Oh, you know what? Not Sean Murphy. Take 2. Hold on. JT Realmuto. That's who I was thinking of.
Okay.
JT Realmuto is a free agent. You can platoon him with Bo Naylor, so you have a legitimate 2 catchers. You sign Pete Alonso, pay him a lot of money for a short-term deal. I think he'd take it if you gave him a lot of money. All right? You know, they broke out the bank for Encarnacion. This is 10 years later. You pay him a lot for 3-4 years. He's 31 years old. Nobody gave him a big contract last year.
Maybe you might not have to pay him the full amount in 27 because you maybe will miss half the season to the lockout.
That's true. Yeah. And then you could, if you signed Realmuto, so you have Realmuto and Bo Naylor at catcher, fine combo. You have Pete Alonso and Kyle Manzardo share first and DH, right? Then you have Bazana play second by June. Start the year with Rocchio or Arias, whatever. At shortstop, you go with the other Rocchio or Arias. Third base, Jose. Left field, I'm playing Chase DeLauder in left. I'm playing Stephen Kwan in center. And then right field is a combo, and I know they hit from the same side, but it's a combo of Valera and Kefis. And then I also work those guys in at DH. I work Kefis in first base occasionally. I can get them both, 350 to 450 plate appearances. And there you go. The other guy of that group is on the bench. The other guy of Rocchio and Arias is on the bench. So is the other catcher. And then my fourth bench spot is, I don't know. I bring in another guy that can play center field is like a Michael A. Taylor type of guy to be my 4th, 5th outfielder.
He just retired.
No, I know he retired, but
like
that
him.
Kind of guy. You know what I'm saying? Like that.
Okay.
What are we? And then I add Pagan to the bet. Pagan's a reasonably priced bullpen guy. Let's go. Stop fucking around.
Hey, we're not supposed to swear like that.
I'm not supposed to curse on this show. On my podcast, I can curse. Sorry.
What are we going to talk about this winter?
I know. All right, that's it. No more free agency talk because we're doing a show next week to kind of look ahead to the free agency, and I've already blown it here. But and in reality, for today, I do think Nick's point is fair that like today is still a good day to appreciate that the Guardians at least gave us an exciting ending and a trip to the playoffs. It ends disappointingly, but yes, after a miserable season, it was a fun end until today, and then it ends in disappointment.
It's weird. I would say for several months, this was like some of the least I've enjoyed covering a team. The brand of baseball was just brutal, right? Like it was boring. They didn't score runs. The days they did score runs, that's when they'd blow a late lead. You were waiting for them to move on from certain players who weren't cutting it, and some they did, some they never did.
Yep.
Nolan Jones held on till the very end, right?
Yep.
And it's just kind of gross. Like, they weren't calling up prospects. They had so many injuries to guys too that you wanted to see. It was pretty miserable. And then all the stuff in the middle of the season is just gross, right? And then I gotta say, like, the last month has been thrilling.
Yep.
It's fun when it's honestly like more fun when you can't explain how it's happening. And there was a charm to it. And I don't know. Like, I don't root for outcomes. I have no control over it. I got to figure out what to write either way. But the one thing I was worried about was a loss in the wild card series makes this really difficult to talk about, because I'm trying to just reflect and think about, like, what's the thing I'm going to remember about this season? And I don't know if it's like the surge to the AL Central title. Like, do they feel like division winners who had a good year, or does it feel like you made something out of what was nothing for 5 months?
Yeah, I mean, I right now I feel like the first thing I think of is the comeback, the great 3 weeks of the season, but the rest of the season was miserable.
Yeah, and they went farther a year ago.
The offense being miserable.
Yeah, they went farther a year ago, so
yeah,
it's not. That season was like the honeymoon phase. I don't know what this was.
Isn't it funny? You had 2016 where, like, they made this amazing run in the postseason that you didn't really expect. It ends in disappointment, but it was a great run. The next year, the team is phenomenal. They go on an amazing winning streak, fall on their face in the playoffs. Last year, the team makes a surprising run. They get to the ALCS. We're surprised. This year is not like 17 in terms of, in 17, they were really good and had a great season. But it is like 17 in where they had this one stretch of 3 weeks where they played amazing baseball, and then they also, lost it in the postseason and lost early.
Yeah, I just think it's important for them to not settle. I mean, you hope they learn their lesson from last offseason when they didn't address the offense, and you limped into the postseason with the worst offense that's made the postseason in decades. And so, you can look at the lineup and get excited about the potential for Valera and DeLauder and Kafis, et cetera, but you can't just assume those guys are going to stay healthy, that they're going to develop the way, like, as quickly as you want them to. So I know I'm teasing you. I do think this is a really important offseason for the front office, more so for ownership, just to take off the rose-colored glasses for a minute and realize, like, yeah, it was commendable that you were able to work some magic to get to this point, but you shouldn't have had to climb out of that hole to begin with.
Yeah.
And
I do think, Zach, and listen, they're not going to change the front office. It's going to stay the same, and I get it. They're good, but they've not done a good job the last 4 years. Nobody can convince me otherwise. They haven't had a good offseason. They haven't had a good offseason in a long time. Even if I'm not even saying at the time of the offseason, when the season's over, like, you're like, no, the offseason was not good the year before. And that's been a number of years in a row. Now, a lot of that's some of that's on ownership, but some of it's on the front office. But if they're not going to change the front office, I think they have to blow up, and you've talked about this, they have to blow up their entire hitting infrastructure in this franchise. They need to get everybody out, clear it out, get somebody to run it from outside the organization, and do what they do well, which is hire good people and let them do their job. Now they got to hire somebody good to run their hitting infrastructure, who can find good hitting talent and develop good hitting talent, and let that person hire people. And that, at the very least, needs to be blown up. But I don't think they'll do any of that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a chance here they could be a really good team next year.
Oh, yeah.
I think, and it's crazy because I say that, even without Ortiz and Clase, like, that's whether you would have had a all-star closer or you would have had whatever you could get in a trade for him. That's a lot of value.
Yeah.
Ortiz had a lot of value as a young, controllable starting pitcher making the minimum. So to lose those two guys is just absolutely just devastating. And yet I look at the pitching staff and I'm like, man, Williams, Bybee, Ciccone, Cantillo, like, those four I thought were so impressive down the stretch. You've got depth in Allen and Messick and maybe John Means, the kid they got for Shane Bieber could be a part of this at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And like I would expect them to add another arm or two to that. Like I like where that's at. The bullpen, I think they need depth. I think they need another high leverage arm, but
especially if Class A is not back next year.
But you can do that. They're good at finding those pieces. And then I look at the lineup, and again, like there's a lot of young talent coming up. And if you look at their top prospects list, a lot of those guys are hitters, and they're in the upper levels of the minors. And we've seen Valera and DeLauder now. We've seen Kafis. Manzardo has turned into something useful. And there's more. Bazana, Juan Brito, Cooper Ingle. These are all guys who should be able to debut next season. But the key is, one, you're right. You need to make sure that, like, if these guys fail, then you've just wasted another window.
That's right.
And it's like, you should have made moves to hire from the outside to fix your hitting a long time ago.
One big proven bat will make a huge difference on this.
Right-handed. You can't be trotting out Noel and Rodriguez. Lane Thomas didn't work. I think David Fry can be better, but I don't want to just assume that, right?
Yeah.
And so there should be financial flexibility. There should be the farm system's in a good enough place that you should be able to make trades for whoever you want.
Yes.
So that's just why, I say, like, there's on one hand, like it's like the potential this winter is limitless because they have financial flexibility and tons of young talent. They can literally do anything. Obviously, it's never limitless in Cleveland. They're not going to go spend outrageous money on any one player, but they should be open-minded. They should, again, like, when you're in this position, you should capitalize on it. You mentioned in 2016, you get to Game 7 of the World Series. It was unexpected. The next year, you run it back with an awesome roster, and you lose in the first round. When you get there, you need to capitalize because you never know what's going to be in store for you the next season. So, again, like, they went to the ALCS last year, and, I wrote this in the story I just filed. Like, Vogt had a neighbor who was like, man, it was easier last year, huh? Like in July this year. And he's like, well, I know it looks bad right now. Last year wasn't easy either. It was just a great run. Like, you never know how it's all going to gel, right?
That's right?
So you can't assume that it's just going to be great because it worked in the end this year. You actually have to build on some of your success, and we'll see. That's the one thing that just have not been able to do. It feels like one year they're great, and the next year they step back, and it's back and forth.
Can you imagine the buzz that signing a Pete Alonso would create? I know you're shaking your head.
Drop his name.
I'm telling you. Tell me how excited fans would be if they signed him.
You legitimately think they would sign someone for $40 million a year?
No.
Okay.
But I'll give it
a Kyle Schwarber. Bring home the Ohio boy.
They should. Would there be some fans that wouldn't want him?
Maybe Joe Buck would come back to calling baseball.
No, seriously. There's no reason they couldn't pay Pete Alonso $40 million a year on a short-term deal. No reason.
I mean,
but just think about it.
I agree with you, but
how crazy would the fans be, and how pumped would they be for the start of the season if they did that?
Hey, when they announced the Encarnacion signing, they had to staff the ticket office over Christmas, and they that's what got them back over 2 million in attendance.
And when they signed Edwin Encarnacion, he was going into his age 34 season. Pete Alonso going into his age 31 season. Now, Encarnacion was coming off a great year, same as Alonso.
Encarnacion's the two final teams for him were Cleveland and Oakland.
Yeah.
You think Pete Alonso's only suitors are going to be the Guardians and the A's?
No, but obviously he didn't have a ton of suitors last year because he ended up signing late and going back to the Mets on a lower deal. So he's a first baseman. And he's 31. So, nobody's given him a 7-year contract. And that's why I think they have a chance here. And I understand a lot of their good prospects are corner infielder, outfielder types. But Pete Alonso, I mean, this guy hits 40 home runs or 30-something every year. I mean, he's a short thing. In that ballpark,
they haven't had a guy hit 40 since Travis Hafner in 2006.
I mean, you put now, I would move Jose to the 2 spot and put him in. I'd go Quan, Jose, Alonso, Manzardo. That's what I would do. But Jose loves that 3 spot. But can you imagine if you had him hitting behind Jose.
Yeah, I mean, so here's the thing. Yeah. They went into last offseason, and look, I know we've been critical and deservedly so. I think the one thing I would like to give them credit for last winter was they recognized, even during the season, they desperately needed starting pitching depth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they signed Boyd, they traded for Cobb, and then they went in the offseason saying, we need more. Yeah. We need young, controllable guys. They got Saccone, job well done. Now, they should have replaced Naylor in better fashion. They didn't do that. But they got Ortiz. They thought that was, you know, imagine if this team still had Ortiz too, what we'd be saying about this rotation. That obviously didn't work. But this offseason, I don't think that's as big of an issue. So, you know, like there should be a sense of urgency there. It's like, again, like you've got a lot of the hard work is done. It's difficult to assemble a good, young, cheap rotation. They've done that. They've got a lot of young, cheap hitters. Congrats. You've got your cornerstone third baseman. But also don't waste him. He's 33. Yeah. Quan only has 2 more years left.
That's right.
You got to strike here.
And that's why, Zach, I won't mention the name again, but that's why they have the ability right now to spend big on one player, because they have so many cheap players. So many who are good, especially in the pitching staff. Like they don't, if they spend big on one big time slugger,
Kyle Tucker.
Well, yeah, he's a lefty, but sure.
Bo Bichette.
But I was thinking Bo Bichette too, but they're not. He's going to
Luis Ariz.
Nah, he's not what they need. They need a power hitter. Listen, Alonso's the perfect fit.
Carlos Santana.
Oh God, stop.
Josh Naylor.
Stop it.
You know what it's going to be? It's probably going to be like Ty France.
Oh God, don't start with me. I can't do it. I can't. You don't get talking to me about Ty France.
Andrew McCutchen.
And they'll bring back Austin Hedges, right? No, McCutchen's not leaving the Pirates again.
Okay, sorry. How about Tommy Pham?
Oh God, I'm gonna throw up on you. We got a super chat from Infinite Darkness. He says, we desperately need offensive help. At least we have things in common in Cleveland. Browns and Guardians offenses suck. Whose offense sucks more? I'd say the Browns. But that's tough.
The Cavs offense should be pretty good, right?
Yeah, at least that's one. Yeah. By the way, we had did I tell you we had Donovan Mitchell on the show?
No, I saw Mike's interviews.
Wade, the super chat says, okay, now we can blame the front office. Imagine what an extra $50 million would do for this team. Yeah. Honestly, they should have the ability to spend $100 million next year because their payroll is about $50 million at the moment for 2026. They should be able to spend at least 75, if not $100 million. You know how good this team could be if they legitimately spent 75 to $100 million in free agency?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about, I've said this a million times. I don't want to yell about it now, but if I were Paul Dolan, I would want to try to go out on a high.
Yeah.
Right? Like cement that legacy. Also, people you sign won't be your problem for very long. So
that's right.
Who knows?
Yeah. Crazier things. Trade for Acuna. Yeah, that's not happening. They're not trading him. All right. Anything from the locker room that you thought was interesting?
No, I mean, the guys didn't want to leave. You see that every year. They sit down, crack open a beer, they just talk.
Yeah.
I think they're probably mentally exhausted.
Yeah.
Think about how taxing it is to come back from the deficit that they came back from, and just the mental toughness that they had to exhibit to get through everything they went through this summer. So, yeah, I mean, I think, they'll come clean out their lockers tomorrow, and, it's just, it's every year, but a baseball season is so crazy because it's unlike anything else where it's this slow grind, slow burn every single day, starting in February. And now so many guys show up early to spring training. So it's like February 1st. That was 8 months ago. It's every single day. And then you just hit a brick wall. It's over. It's done. That's it. Now you go home and you're probably like sitting on your couch saying, the hell do I do?
Yeah.
And it comes without warning. And until the dam broke there for the Tigers in the sixth. No one was thinking about, oh man, I wonder if I'll have nothing to do tomorrow. They all packed the bag for Seattle.
It was the 7th. It was the 7th. All right, Zach. Will you be rooting for the Cubs now, since the Guardians are out?
No, I know people with the Brewers.
Yeah,
I'll root for them. They do things. I like the way they do things.
I do too. They're a great organization. I don't mind that the Cubs are playing them. The Cubs won the season series against them.
Yeah,
Brewers haven't been good in the playoffs, although their rotation on paper is excellent. Yankees are going to win, unfortunately.
Yeah. So my preseason prediction was Red Sox, Phillies, and then in our predictions before the playoffs, I said Mariners, Dodgers.
Yeah.
So I'll stick with that. I like the Mariners. I like the way they built their team. Those fans have suffered too. Like, that team has never won a title, and this is their first division title in 24 years. So I don't know. Mariners, Brewers would be cool. I think baseball would hate it, but
yeah, maybe bad ratings, but who cares about that? I'm picking the Phillies to beat the Mariners in the World Series. I'd like to see the Cubs get to the NLCS, but in both leagues, you could argue. Well, no, in the National League, I mean, the Brewers had the best record, but I think most people think the Phillies and Dodgers are the two best teams, and so.
But that's the key. The beauty of the 1 seed, is those teams have to play each other. You only have to beat one of them.
Yeah. All right, so the next round of the playoffs begins Saturday. Obviously the TV. Did the Dodgers Yankees get massive ratings last year? I don't even remember. It was a quick series. I honestly didn't watch it, or not much of it.
I mean, Judge and Ohtani's always going to pull some headlines, but does it really matter?
Yeah. I'm trying to think. In a way, I would think that and I'm a little biased here, but I would think in the National League, you could argue that the Cubs or Phillies are both better for TV than the Dodgers, because I think the Cubs and Phillies, not here in Cleveland, obviously, but in most places, the Cubs and Phillies are teams that, like, other fan bases will get behind more than the Dodgers.
My only pushback would be Ohtani's pitching now, and he wasn't pitching last year.
That's true.
Like, imagine Ohtani pitching against Judge.
That would be pretty awesome. Now, Boston's going to get eliminated here. Yankees. It's going to be Yankees, Blue Jays. It's going to be Mariners, Tigers. It's going to be Brewers, Cubs.
Going back home, he attended the University of Seattle.
What's that?
Scooble attended the University of Seattle, so there's some storylines there.
And Scooble could pitch games 2 and 5 in that series.
The Tigers have a shot. I think the Mariners are the most. I think the Mariners are the most complete team in the American League.
Right, they have no playoff experience.
That's a good series, I think.
The Mariners got all the pressure in Game 1. They got to win Game 1 with Scooble going Game 2.
Definitely.
And you don't want it to get to a Game 5 against Scooble.
Our Tigers guy.
Yeah.
So he came to Cleveland.
Yeah.
Last week, then went to Boston. And then had to fly back to Cleveland, and now he's flying from Cleveland to Seattle.
Has he been to Detroit?
Hasn't been home.
No, wow. And so he'll finally go home. What? It's Saturday, Sunday, the American League, or is it Saturday, Monday?
So he'll fly home Monday, but that wipes out your whole day because it's 5 hours plus a time change.
Yeah.
And then games Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe.
Jay said we're sleeping on Detroit. We just both said we gave Detroit a shot. I don't think any of the series are all the lower seeded teams can win the next round. Yeah. Like, the Cubs could beat the Brewers, the Dodgers could certainly beat the Phillies, the Tigers could beat the Mariners, and the Yankees could certainly beat the Blue Jays. None of those lower seeded teams would be a shock if they won.
Yeah.
So, in fact, in the Yankees Blue Jays case, and maybe the Dodgers Phillies case, the Yankees and Dodgers might be favored in those series, even though they're the lower seed.
Yeah, I could see that.
And I just don't think the Brewers will be a big favorite over the Cubs, just because it's a rivalry. A lot of Cub fans go to Milwaukee. Cubs won the season series. Again, the Brewers are the better team. Don't get me wrong. I expect the Brewers to win, but I expected the Padres to win, and that didn't happen. So, Evan 419 says, "Will DeLauder open the season in Cleveland, or is it manipulation time?"
It's a good question.
Yeah, I think it depends on what. Well, the question is, are they going to purposely manipulate, even if he earns it?
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
Can you even count on him to stay healthy for 162?
No. But if he's great in spring training and he's healthy, he should be on the team.
Because
same thing with Pizzana, frankly.
If you manipulate the service time, but then he gets injured in AAA, that's the worst case scenario. Yeah. You might as well squeeze as much as you can out of him in the majors.
I think Pizzana and DeLauder, if they're healthy and they look good in spring training, should both be on this club on opening day.
Sounds like a conversation for a February episode of the Ultimate Guardian Show.
Well, we're going to do an episode next week to kind of put a bow on the season and look ahead to the offseason and talk more about Pete Alonso. All right. You don't want to hear about it. I understand. It's like too depressing to talk about in a way because it's almost definitely not going to happen.
I like dreaming, but I need to I don't know. I just walked out.
We never thought they'd sign Encarnacion. You never thought they'd sign him coming into that year, did you?
There was a point in the offseason when we knew that there was a chance.
But again, everything points to it. They have a $50 million payroll. They really they have a chance to spend big on one guy.
How many times does Charlie Brown try to kick the football? And Lucy pulls it away every time.
In this analogy, am I Charlie Brown and Dolan is the Lucy?
Yes. And I'm with you. I've talked myself into a lot of crazy scenarios before because it makes sense on paper. But
I'd sign Gleyber Torres again this offseason.
Yeah.
They won't do that. Yeah, well. All right. Thank you, Evan, who says it was a great season. I appreciate the show. Vlad D says, will Cleveland get back to the World Series with this current group of youngsters and Ramirez? They got a shot at some point, but they got to spend money. They got to add to the lineup and get some proven guys. Jason says, Vogt is a once-in-a-generation manager. I don't believe that. I think he's a fine manager.
I do think he's really good.
I think he's good, too. Once-in-a-generation, a little strong.
Nah. Too early for that.
Yeah. He's got to trust his gut a little more and sometimes tell the analytics guys to stick it.
I think he did that, though, this series. He let the lefty. Valera was facing lefties. DeLauder was facing lefties. So
I like it. And good for DeLauder getting his first major league hit.
Well, doesn't actually count.
That's true. Technically, he has not gotten a hit in the major leagues. His first major league hit is in the playoffs, which is crazy. All right. Thanks, everybody. We appreciate you joining us. We will be back. We'll let you know. We'll be on one day next week to kind of put a bow on the season, look ahead to the offseason. And then as stories break, if there are stories that break involving the Guardians during the offseason, we will be there to cover it. Thanks, everybody, for sending us messages today. We'll talk to you next time on the Ultimate Cleveland Guardian Show.